This is the Tuesday, May 7th regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We have in front of us the agenda. I have a few additions to ask for your approval on. The first is for item 17. It is the asphalt recycling information. We need to edit that agenda item to increase the amount and the roads that are going to be, we're adding Loops Woods Road to that work. So the new contract amount, the total contract amount will be $308,750. Without the contingency, it's $287,550. So I can, so that's the first request. Could I get a motion to approve that amendment? Okay, great. And that's unanimous. And then the other thing, and we will do that at the very end, maybe after the tree warden. So item 20, it'll be the new 27. I'd like to make a motion to remove John Mahoney from the Zoning Board of Appeals. His term doesn't end until December 2024, but Mr. Mahoney has moved. We cannot find him. We cannot get a letter of resignation. And so the only way to put somebody new on there, according to the town clerk, is for the Board of Selectmen to officially remove him. So if we could also add that. Thank you. Second. It's unanimous. Okay. I think that's it so if I could get a motion to approve the revised agenda. So moved. Second. It's unanimous. And then you have the minutes from the April 16th meeting. If I could get a motion to approve those minutes. So moved. Second. It's unanimous. Thank you. Public comments. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments to the Board of Selectmen on agenda topics scheduled for review and or vote. Comments submitted electronically should be sent to the following email address, bosdistribution@newcanaanct.gov. Do we have anyone wishing to make a comment today?
No one online.
Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 4, tactical police gear with Chief DeFederico.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is a request to increase the previous approved purchase order for purchase of some ammunition for training purposes.
Going through a lot of ammo these days. I feel like I just did this last month.
Well, we got to come here every month to increase the purchase orders, so okay. Here we are.
Any questions?
They've got to be trained.
Yep.
Is the price on ammo staying the same, or is it changing?
No, it's always going up.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
It's unanimous. So, oh, well, I actually have to read it.
Oh,
sorry. Sorry. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So if I could get a motion to approve a request from the New Canaan Police Department to increase a previously approved purchase order with Tactical Police Gear LLC in the amount of $2,879.80 for ammunition. Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. Okay, there we go. Okay, and now police vehicle equipment.
Next item is to increase a previously approved purchase order for specialty warning systems in the amount of $6,000 for vehicle equipment. This is for a shelving system that's going to go in the back of all the new vehicles. So we're adding those to all the new vehicles to increase storage capacity.
Okay.
So we're changing how we are building out the cars. We're adding something to them.
A shelving system for the rear cargo area.
Okay.
In the trunk?
Well, they're SUVs, so there's no trunk
okay.
in the SUV
in the
cargo compartment, so we can stack things and organize things a little bit more efficient.
Stuff doesn't go flying around.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of room in the back of those cars behind the seats. So if you have that stuff down, if you're making fast turns or something.
Yeah, if you just throw it in and pile it in, it just gets all lost. This kind of organizes it and helps keep things in order.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like the back of my car. Maybe I need.
Except these are defibrillators and fire extinguishers and things like that.
I guess we want to take care of our
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the New Canaan Police Department to increase a previously approved purchase order with specialty warning systems in the amount of $6,000 for police vehicle equipment.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Albie. apparatus repair and service.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Fire department would like to increase our current PO with the Gowans Night Company not to exceed $60,000 for various apparatus repair costs. This is our regular vendor, and obviously we went above our some of our limits, so we need to bring it up.
Yeah, this is all a result of the new PO.
Right. So are we spending more with them than we had budgeted for, or?
No, right now this is budgeted funds. It's just that we went over the 50,000 for one vendor.
But you plan to, right?
I did, and we've had some emergency repairs that it's brought over, but yeah. So I mean, it's more than what I expected for this year, but yeah. So just with the emergency repair, so and we still have some more that we're working on now, so we're trying to calculate those out.
So do you know, just remind me what you had expected you would do in repairs? And I know stuff just needs repairs. Like how much more are you planning on spending this year than you initially had estimated? And I know
estimated probably between 10 and 15,000 with the two apparatus that just had some failures that they're working on quotes now and getting the repairs done.
So we'll probably spend how much this year? Up to 60? I'm just curious.
Probably looking 85 to 90,000 for apparatus repairs, and that's services too. That's regular service, and then the additional repairs that we incurred this year.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Did you say you thought 10 to 20, and we're going to be at 85,000, or did that not?
My original budget. I mean, off the top of my head, I think the original budget was probably 65,000. Okay. We're probably looking at about 85 for the entire year, somewhere around there. Okay. Total once the emergency repairs get calculated out.
Okay. And just remember, the money for that is within your general budget. I mean, to pay for that. Normally,
yeah. It's just again, it's about 10 to 15,000 over what I budgeted for. So I'm working with finance now to get quotes on those.
All right.
So this is currently funds that are available to finish the last service that we had to do.
Okay.
So to get to June 30th, do we anticipate how much? I mean,
10 to 15. I'm gonna be working with finance in the next 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Yes, to see where I'm. We're closing down budget. Some line items and trying to figure it out. But I think I'm gonna have to ask finance for additional funds to cover those emergency repairs.
So Ann's gonna work some magic there in terms of finding the funds.
They have the funds in their budget. Okay. So what we're doing in the departments are very good. We're trying to keep the expenditures consistent to the account that they belong in. So that they may have savings in other ones where we can transfer in. So as they have things that come up unexpectedly, they look through their other line items to say where they can transfer from. They transfer it in, go in front of the board if it's over a certain dollar limit, and then move it in. So they're not going ahead with things until they really know that they have those savings within the budget. Otherwise, they're coming to us going, we need to do X. We don't have it in the budget. What do we do? And then we go to ask the Board of Finance if needed for contingency.
Okay.
So, and we're just changing the process, and they're all been very good of putting it in the right, so it's apples to apples in every code.
Okay. And do we have any longer term issues with these pieces of equipment that we are like? Because it's been a couple months of these repairs.
We're getting a much better handle on it now with I have a lieutenant that's strictly responsible for the apparatus that's really looking at it. So we're seeing some of that, but some of these issues are just things that wear out just like on any other vehicle that you would not expect. You normally don't change. You would have no indicator that something was going to fail on it. So the service things, we know what's coming up. If there's an increase of, work that needs to happen, like, okay, next year we're going to have to do tires, might have to do brakes on it next year. Those we kind of have a better handle on. But a couple of these were just emergency repairs that you're not expecting that they're going to fail, and one of the rigs is, the one that we are replacing in 2 years that, we had a pump shift repair. So it happened. There was no indicator that it would happen. And the other one was a crack in the primer pump, which we couldn't get fuel to the apparatus, to the motor. So you just didn't know it was going to happen. So kind of surprises. Nothing that you would repair on a regular basis
Okay.
or
We
maintain.
all have that with cars sometimes. You're like,
Yeah.
what? I didn't know you had to fix this.
Yeah.
But so do you feel, I mean, you never know. If you want to, do you feel comfortable with next year's budget that you got enough in terms of repairs?
I said yes. I said
Well, we'll
yes
see, right? Yeah.
6 months ago, and I don't know what more emergency
Right.
repairs could pop up. I mean, we got a good handle on, so I do feel comfortable going into what we put in, but you know, one of these, actually, I will say no on that one because we do have a motor repair coming up that we found out about in the last couple of months that we are going to push off until the next budget year. So we might be close.
Did you say now somebody is in charge of keeping track?
He's handling all the record keeping and handling
So
the
that might help you
services.
going forward.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and our records management system, setting it up so we make sure it's getting done in regular intervals. So.
Are you finding the older trucks are more needy or the newer trucks are more needy?
The newer trucks, the newer trucks have more little issues like with the electronics and stuff that are a little more of a nuisance, smaller repairs, a lot more smaller repairs. But the older trucks are having the major ones that you wouldn't expect.
There you go.
All right. So if I could get a motion to approve a request from the fire chief and to increase a previously approved purchase order with Gallons Night in an amount not to exceed $60,000 for emergency apparatus repair costs.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Adam.
And
the next one's
our
LB2.
next one is just to increase two previously approved POs for janitorial supplies, for Suburban janitorial supplies not to exceed 6,000, and Acuity, which is our ZEP supplier, not to exceed $3,000 for their POs.
What's that?
Thank you.
It's just it's more of they sell a lot of degreasers, and it's just the products that they have. Steve,
What is that product
you probably see it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just cleaning stuff and
Okay.
different cleaning materials.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah. All right. If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the fire chief to increase two previously approved purchase orders for building janitorial supplies as follows: Suburban janitorial supplies not to exceed $6,000 and Acuity ZEP up to $3,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Waveney Fitness Area, Ryan and John.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the Parks Department seek proposals for the excavation and site prep services required for our approved fitness area. In doing so, we reached out to Hussey Bros Excavating, Pat Corsetti, and Peter Lanny. And after further review, we selected Hussey Bros Excavating LLC as they remain the lowest bid and always provide quality work. If approved, Hussey Bros will remove 4 stumps, excavate the fitness area soil, install granite curbing for a border, and supply, install, and level stone needed for the approved equipment and poured-in-place surfacing. The total price for this service is $15,375, and I added a 10% contingency, changing the total to $16,875. The money is available and budgeted within the playground replacement account.
So they're just doing the prep work, and we're not going to be doing fitness equipment on top of stone. There's going to be something layered on top.
Correct. So that was already approved. The poured-in-place surfacing will follow the stone. So
This was going back to get estimates.
Right.
Multiple
Mhm.
estimates, so,
correct.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the work that they're going to do, and that's a pretty good value, actually, for what they're going to do. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
It's good value, and we know the work will be done.
Right. And as far as timing goes, Joe Hussey has worked with us in the past, and we're still waiting on the delivery for the equipment, and it's a 8 to 10 week lead time at this point. So he's very flexible with that. So it helps us a lot.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Parks Department to enter into a contract with Hussey Brothers Excavating LLC in the amount of $15,375 plus a contingency of $1,500 for a total cost of $16,875. The project entails excavating and site preparation for the fitness area at Waveney Park.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you. John, before after school programs.
Thank you.
I'm actually gonna let Zach talk on this one. I'm just sitting here today.
How's it going? So, long story short, this program was already approved. We weren't happy with the services, so we went and got a different franchise. So, Snapology had multiple franchises. So, the original franchise was approved. We decided the product wasn't the quality that we wanted, so we got rid of them, brought in the other franchise. So now we're just getting the same amount done just for this new franchise, which is still Snapology. What's the amount?
Oh, your total cost.
Yeah, so the total cost is $11,520. There are 3 different programs, and there's 86 children that it served.
So was the prior provider like the first, like the fall, and so you just brought somebody in for the spring?
That is correct. Yeah, so they did our previous session.
Yep.
We didn't.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay, good.
So if the cost of the program is $11,520, what, I mean, because I know people pay for the program. Is this a break even? Do we make a little bit of money on it?
For this program, it's priced very well from this franchise, so we do make a little bit of money on this program.
It's popular.
Yes, in which that money then goes back to help pays our monitors. We do after staffing with the monitors, any equipment that we need for any programs that we run at the school as well, which we hire the contractors to.
Okay, great. Yeah, great. Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Parks and Recreation Department to extend the contract with Immersive Holdings LLC, doing business as Snapology, and to increase previously approved purchase order by $11,520. Snapology provides 4 after-school programs at the elementary schools.
So moved.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Tiger and Lee.
We just got this, so I haven't reviewed it.
Yeah, no, I know. Waveney House construction update.
Just so you make sure you get a mic. I was going to share, I think, well, thank you very much for having us. Last meeting, we mentioned the fact that we thought it'd be a good idea to give you kind of a step back and move forward as far as where we are with Waveney House. So I'm joined by Mitchell Levy. He's the owner of MKL Design Services. And I believe,
yeah.
Oh, it's not on the right. Sorry, I apologize.
Great, thank you.
And Lee Cromwell. Lee's recently relocated to California, so she's, I think, on Zoom. She should be.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
And as you know, she's a former New Canaan resident. Right. So we just kind of wanted to walk you through where we were and where we are and where we're headed. So Lee, I have the presentation up. Do you want to just walk through it and then just tell me when to change the slides?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
That's a yes?
Yep.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm having a little difficulty hearing you. So anyway, thanks for introductions, Tiger, and it's nice to meet everybody. It's a new set of selectmen since we last presented. Although Steve and Carl and Amy Murphy-Carroll have been involved in various points of the project on the different various committees that they've been on. If you go ahead and change the slide, please. So anyway, this is just an overview to show that ADA accessibility history of it in town and with regard to Waveney goes back quite a ways with the 1973 and then the 1990 development of the various ADA legislation completed by Congress. In 2000, the town formed its own committee, as all towns in America did, or most have, to study what needed to be done in town, specific to all buildings and Waveney as well. And the town did a self-evaluation. Then throughout the years, they continued to assess Waveney. Various teams, and by 2011, there was a New Canaan 5-year capital facilities plan. Other engineering firms were hired to review various facilities in town along with Waveney. we became involved. I was with a different firm at the time, KSQ with Armand Quadrini. We had completed the town hall, and we competed with other architects in a competition for the assessment and restoration of Waveney House. We were successful. And at that point, we began a investigation of Waveney House that you'll see support in the next slide. That was completed. There were several appointed committees over the time. The last one that we worked with was in 2018. It's the Waveney House Restoration Committee. And at that point, I had moved on to another architectural firm. If you change the slide, please. Storer Architects within Mitchell Levy acquired at the start of the pandemic, and it's now MKL Design Studio. This is a slide showing the structure of the advisory committee and how we work together with the town, the architect, the committee that was composed of the members you see listed there. Also SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office in Hartford, the local departments, the building department, the fire marshal. The town had a code consultant at the time. Unfortunately, Chris Lau has since passed away, and there may still be other code consultants for other projects in town. The time of first selectman was Kevin Moynihan, and he had appointed this committee. Tiger was also involved, Bill Ostman, as well as the Selectmen's Advisory on Buildings and Infrastructure. And that committee met over several years, a total of 8 meetings between October 2018 and January 2020. Prior to that, they had also, other committees had been in place that did things such as study various locations of the elevator. If you can go on to the next slide, Tiger.
Tiger, sorry, I'm
Sure.
sorry. I see under, you have the committee of the residents, and then you have Kevin, Tiger, Bill, and it says Selectmen's Advisory on Building and Infrastructure. Is that referring to that committee above, or is that a different group of people?
That was a different committee. That was the one that did a study on all the buildings itself.
Is that
I believe that, is that a subset of a town council committee?
There was just, if I understand that correctly, at the time, the selectmen at the time just asked people to kind of help discuss infrastructure, but it was kind of, honestly, it was like you'd have a meeting and whatever Kevin wanted to talk about, we talk about. So I don't remember. I don't believe this group was part of.
That's fine.
That project. I mean, I was on the subcommittee that was trying to figure out the elevator. Yeah. In this committee, I remember when my sister, being on that, but then it just kind of all got disbanded.
Okay. So we don't know who these people are or if they're real.
No, they were. It was people like, I remember Neil Budnick was on it, then he dropped off and I dropped on, and then the committee got disbanded.
Well, there's minutes in history.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, not on the advisory committee.
Oh, no?
Did we miss a slide that showed the present consultant team?
Yeah,
there we
right
go.
There.
Right. So MKL with Michael Gismonde and Michael Levy, myself, and Kristen Bassett have been working on the project. And then we're supported by the structural engineer and mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers. Structural is DeSalvo Engineering Group, and MEP is Kohler Ronan Consulting Engineers. With the people that shown on the slide are the ones that have supported the project. Okay, then we can go to the next slide. And this is just a image of the cover of the document that was done in, started like 2015, completed in 2016. That was the existing conditions assessment and schematic design criteria for various ideas of how Waveney House might be used and phased in different projects to help with completing rehabilitation of the facility. Next slide. As I mentioned, prior to our coming on board with the Waveney House Renovation Advisory Committee in 2018, the committee, as you mentioned, Deanna, that there were various committees, and this one that investigated various sites for the elevator. This slide is just one of the image of one of the charts the committee used in highlighting the various areas they looked at for locating an elevator. One in the vicinity of the women's toilet room as you come in the front door, that I believe that their intent maybe was to open it into the living room next to where the bandstand used to be, the raised platform area. Another was in the vicinity of the old baggage elevator, which is the shaft is still there. Another alternative was in the stairwell, the opening between the C that the stairway makes. One was in the west porch, and another was in some closets off of the dining room. But it was found, as they investigated further, that these closets did not stack up. So anyway, the committee studied all these, and when we came on board, the committee had determined that location 3 they felt was the most desirable. Next slide. This just reiterates a better graphic, the locations of the sites studied. Next slide. An overview of the goals and objectives of the committee was to the exterior building access, the interior access routes, the vertical access to the second floor, and toilet room access, location and plumbing quantities. Next slide. Just pictorial information about the status of where the way the house was when the committee and we all started looking at it. And one, the 88 toilet facilities, numbers and locations. These are picture images of facilities prior to any renovations. The second floor vertical access, you can see the grand stair there with the opening to the left. And the exterior access route closest to the ADA parking and all is the west porch entrance that's been there. The ramp was added probably in the 1960s, I believe, and needed to be upgraded. It wasn't wide enough, it was too steep, and it wasn't a really terribly elegant entrance. So next slide. Also part of the projects were the loggia ADA access. If you'll recall, when you went out of the living room area to the loggia, which is the back covered porch area, to the west porch or terrace, not west, that's the south terrace. But you step down one from the doors of the living room to the terrace, and then you step down 2 more risers to get onto the south terrace. The middle picture is just an image of the loggia as it was before it was raised. There was also emergency egress that needed to be reviewed and revised and rebuilt because it was too steep. The stair risers were not the right code compliant. Handrails were not compliant. So that was completely replaced. Next slide. In the various different areas that we studied, these are just alternative designs that we did look at, various ways of getting into the west porch end of the building. Just to give you an idea that the committee considered many different alternatives. Next slide. Same with the loggia, many different alternatives were there. Were considered, none of them very elegant. And then the large one, thanks to Steve Benko, who came up with the idea of, well, why don't we ramp in the area of the garden and preserve the steps and preserve more of the look of the loggia, which is what the committee and the architect elected and decided to do. Next slide. We also considered access to the grounds from the south terrace. But after the committee reviewed, there really wasn't a elegant solution to that. We tried right at the front, we tried to the various sides, and Tiger, I guess you can give me some information on this too. The way that this has always been handled, it rarely happens that anything is done that we have to go from the South Terrace to the lawn. And on the occasion that does happen, a temporary ramp is brought in, and it was elected to continue to do things that way. I don't know, Tiger, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly what would be the case going forward. And that was what the DOJ approved as well, was the fact that if we are to use if there's a connectivity between the porch, the western porch and the southern porch and the grass area, that we would need a ramping if an event utilized both spaces at once. If it was just a lawn event, there was no need. And if it was just a terrace event, there was no need. But if it utilized both, then we would have to put in a temporary ramping system. So we decided not to construct this portion of the project.
Next slide. So this shows information about what was ultimately selected to do. We ramped up the middle with new planting beds, as you see in the diagram on the left, the west porch entry and drop off. We added the drop off along the vehicle access route at the front of the building, improved the pavement that went off to the parking lot to the west. There's a section just showing how the loggia ADA access became compliant. And then we rebuilt the stair, much the way it looks today, looked originally, but with compliant risers and treads and handrails and all that. Next slide. And images from some of the completed work. One of the other items that was added from the interior renovations to the exterior was the new automatic entry doors at the west entrance and to the loggia. And you see an image of that completed project now as well. So we have the loggia access with the ramp at the back of the planting bed, ramping up to on the west porch entry to the house, and then the new west porch entry walkway. That's the same grade. It doesn't even count as a ramp because it's less than 1 to 20. So it's technically the uppermost of what a sidewalk can be. Next slide. Then we also studied locations of the second floor toilets, and we had zeroed in on the area that you see highlighted in red that was the recreation department office, along with some closets and toilet rooms adjacent to it. Next slide. Again, we studied various alternatives. The grayed out area just shows some of the other alternates that we looked at. The and the right one actually is one that there's not one of the final, it's not what was finally decided, but it was just another one that was considered. Next slide. Here you see a blow up image of that red highlighted area of the floor plan of what the committee decided would be the final configuration of the plumbing, toilets, lavatories, auxiliary space. So we ended up with four toilets for each sex and 3 lavatories, which made it compliant with the occupancy of the building. Next slide. Another project that was to occur on the first floor and still needs to be done, I understand it's in the works, is a family toilet on the main floor. There is currently a toilet, the men's room is there, and this would be turned into a family toilet, having a diaper changing table, and it's also ADA accessible. Next slide.
Lee, is that currently ADA accessible?
No.
Yeah. Okay,
no.
So like right now, if someone, has mobility issues, we don't have the elevator in, what facilities do they use at Waveney House?
The one that's underneath the stairs. It's the only one.
Right. Which is not ADA either.
No, but it's close. It's the only one that's close to
well,
it's the only one that's
you know,
close.
It's
Right.
you can see it in the diagram that it looks like a little closet in the stair alcove, but there is a toilet and a lavatory in there.
Okay.
So it would be a family bathroom would be a single fixture, one toilet, one lavatory, and the diaper changing table. Next slide.
Okay.
And now the work that's in progress is the stair alcove where we plan to put vertical access to the second floor. As you probably know, drawings were completed prior to the pandemic. And so projects were staged a little bit differently and certainly dragged out because of the pandemic. Next slide. This is just some of the ongoing work we've been doing with the various team members that are on the construction coordination and getting the elevator and the lift and the enclosure and all designed to where it will fit within the stair. And the contractor wanted some assistance on some of the detailing, so we did some accommodating to that. The coordination team, though, is the town of New Canaan. Oh, I lost my slide. DeSalvo, Sterling Elevator, Eros Elevator, Champion Elevator, and Custom Cabs, who are the contractors that the final name on the list, Alden Bailey, hired as a team to build and install the elevator. So we've all been working together over since the end of last year, working on details and going back and forth with Champion and Custom Cabs to evolve to the design that we have today. Mitchell, is there anything you want to add about the coordination?
No, just that the new elevator and enclosure fits within that stairwell without touching anything.
So where are we in actually, I mean, this has been protracted. So where are we exactly in terms of, getting this elevator? Is the design completed?
The design intent is completed.
Okay.
We're working with the contractor and his subs to finalize the exact cab and the enclosure materials for shop drawings to be made. The contractor.
I'm sorry, the contractor is it Alden Bailey?
Alden Bailey,
okay.
Who is the overall contractor with the subs, which is the custom cabs and his other subs to produce the enclosure. So he has other subs that go with it, but Alden Bailey is the GC handling the project.
When you say an enclosure, do you mean? I mean, the elevator is going to come like the whole.
Right. There's two parts.
When you say an enclosure, is like cutting it out to be able to put it in, or
there's two parts to it. You actually have the actual elevator, the lift itself. So that's one piece,
right? Which
is independent. It's on a hydraulic.
Okay.
It's independent of anything else of the project in the sense of the scope. Then you have an enclosure, which is actually the
shaft kind of.
Yeah, for better terms, it's a shaft, but it's the glass structure that protects people and the elevator shaft.
So the elevator is the thing that goes up and down. Right. The shaft is actually the frame.
It's the fixed element that you see that has the doors and the glass around it and the structure.
Okay.
That fits in there and that the elevator travels within.
Okay.
So it's two pieces to it. Custom Cabs is doing the actual elevator, and Alden Bailey is with his subs doing, the enclosure itself. So the design intent is there. We have a direction to go in. The general contractor is looking to do some what's called probes, which is exploratories into the attic, because to meet state codes, we have to go for an overrun for an elevator for safety reasons, for maintenance and things of that nature. So you need to do some probes in the attic.
What does overrun mean? I'm sorry.
Overrun is where
it goes higher than the
correct.
actual.
So you have an elevator that goes to the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the last stop.
Right.
So regulations require the elevator to pass one more level and then a few more feet. So a person can stand in there to do any maintenance to it. So that's the overrun.
Mm-hmm.
So if the cab comes down or goes up and it has a little bit of a shift, there's enough room for someone to be there in case to maintenance. And also if something moves while they're in maintenance, they're safe.
Right, they don't get injured.
Right. So it's an overrun basically of another stop and a half.
Mm-hmm. Which goes into the attic.
Which goes into the roof and the attic area. So it has to be opened, and there's, being that this is such an old building, there's concrete, steel that the contractor, no one knows about because you have to do pros because it's bedded in there. There's something around, I don't know, 2 feet of concrete or something. And
well, there's an interstitial space between the ceiling of the second floor and the attic floor slab.
Right. So to get in there, to get some probes for some viewing to see what structure's in there, what's available, how to cut it. We need some of that information currently, and that's where we're at.
And is the interstitial space filled with concrete, or is it?
Don't know all of it because
no.
we've been able to really do a full probe to exactly see what's in there. So that's why we have to do a probe to see and investigate to get a fixed information so that the contractor and our structural engineer can figure out how to tie it, how to open it and secure it.
And so we're not concerned that it's a structure, like by opening it up, that we create a structural issue with the.
Oh, with the building? No.
Okay.
No, I mean, the building, I think, Tiger, you can correct me, and Bill also, this thing is built solid rock.
Tank.
Yeah, it is.
More so than a tank.
Yeah.
The amount
right.
of concrete from what we've seen in this that was poured, unbelievable. So we don't know what else is in there. So that's what.
And you should also know that there were original drawings of the building that they're very diagrammatic. It'd be hard to modern day construction build from them, but the way the drawings are drawn, you can see that there is like a 2 foot gap between the ceiling, the second floor, and the top of the floor attic. We also, the structural engineer and I, in some investigation, did put a little pinhole in a probe up, the little telescopic probe that you can put up in there to look around. And unfortunately, what we saw when we poked up in there was a steel beam blocking our view of everything. But we could confirm that there was space above the ceiling.
Tiger, do you have on slide 20, there's a little picture of the elevator. Can you pull that up and see if you can you zoom out on that photo at all?
This one you're talking?
Yeah. Make that any bigger. Some of the questions that Amy was asking about the enclosure, it's important. And now, while we're talking about this, I just want to make sure that there's a lot of residents that probably haven't seen this particular image. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that we socialize this and make sure that everybody knows that we're fundamentally changing that staircase. So just, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for the elevator. I know we have to have it. I just want everybody to know what it's going to look like. And so there's not a lot of surprises. So if you're standing at that great staircase, as you come around the top of it to the first level, there's windows there, and that'll be glass that you look through. You can actually see through that. Even though there's a frame there, there's enough natural light that'll go through there. One of the other questions that came up was, what about the bathroom that's there existing? Is that just, there's no access to that bathroom now, or are we going to be able to move the door to the other side of it somehow?
Actually, that bathroom backs up to a closet that's accessed from the entry lobby.
Yeah.
So we're going to break through that wall, and when the door to the entry closet that's down 2 steps in the entry lobby, you'll be able to access all of that space. It'll be a storage area.
Right. So we're not touching that part because that part
that's enclosed.
Yeah. Right. So that's the whole thing is we're not touching the actual millwork and the casements or anything of that nature.
Yeah, because initially there was some talk about how we were gonna have to cut railings and do all this work there.
With a new alteration that we did, it fits with the alternate ADA requirement. So it fits literally. We have like 1.5 inches, 2 inches on both sides.
It was never the intent to cut anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we're getting out there.
It really wasn't. And I would say, for people who haven't, I mean, people look at Waveney, but they don't look around. This is the gift that keeps on giving. You have no idea how many step changes, levels changes there are everywhere you go. Like the front entryway, how many different level changes are there? Like 3 or 4?
Yeah.
So it's really, really difficult. And I was on the elevator committee, I think Rose and Carl was on it, and we looked at every spot. I mean, and everyone's like, well, how about here? How about there? And there's all these reasons it wouldn't work. And this is, people got comfortable with this. I like it. I think it's cool. And they do it all over Europe in the old buildings.
Well, even in the United States, houses of this era were often built to include an elevator eventually.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it's, you have to work with this building. It's a very hard building to work with, you know, and this, I think, I'm excited that this gives access to people, and it's not just people like in wheelchairs. It could be people who just have some mobility issues, people with strollers and stuff. And, you know, we're using this building. We have to get it so that it works with people. And a lot of the ADA improvements that have been made for the, what's it called? Is the porch is called the loge? Is that what it's called?
Loge.
I mean, for people, again, that's when you walk out to look to the porch. If you hadn't seen it before, there were like how many step changes there? Like you just could not get around. It's just, you got to be creative with this. And
all the work that you guys put into this location. I mean, obviously the slide we saw before, studying different spots, you know, I get it. I mean, this is clearly of the different spaces. We kept asking, well, what about what about this dumbwaiter closet? What about this? What about that? Every time it was, you know, you got to be able to fit a wheelchair in, you got to be able to turn it around. So it's got to be big enough to fit. And many of these spaces just didn't work. They were just too small. So this gives us the space we need. And I mean, it does look like it belongs. I mean, it's a sort of an older antique kind of look. I mean, it's pretty cool.
In the alternate spaces we looked at, all of a sudden, you know, you're going, what am I cutting through? How many feet of concrete? Right. You know, I mean, they all seem like, oh, they're great, but they all had limitations to them. So
how far out, like on that slide, one more time, how far out will that go to the steps there? Are we talking about 4 steps?
It stops right at the end of the rail.
Oh, at the end of the
Actually,
rail.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It goes it goes around 4 or 5 steps in. Yeah. So that there's an area. So what happens is that if I take a look at this one, is it goes in, so you have the 2 main ones, and then you have the 2 next steps that go up. That's where it starts. So it's a landing, you have that open side. So there's plenty of room and space there for access.
Because one of the other comments I've heard over the years is how that staircase is a very photographed spot. So there, you know, if you have rain and you have a wedding or whatever, you're gonna have the whole wedding party on that staircase. If you have a big event where you're gonna have a lot of people in a photo, that's where it's gonna go inside. And I'm just concerned that you're gonna have enough of an angle to be able to take a photo there. And it looks like you can. So it's kind of a small thing, but the amount of photos that have been taken on that staircase over time, you can't even count them. I mean, it's thousands of them. So I'm happy to see that it's set back a little bit.
Right.
And then I want to, and I should remember this, but so then on the main level, okay, so if you are in a wheelchair or so you know, you can get into the house, it's all smooth. The bathroom, that's gonna be the family bathroom that we're reworking, will that be big enough for someone who has accessibility issues to use it? I mean, you obviously will be able to take the elevator up, but the family bathroom that we're redoing on the first level, will that be big enough?
It's ADA compliant. It has the 5-foot turning radius in it.
So you don't have to go upstairs, is what I'm saying.
It will be. It's a unisex family toilet, so it meets that compliance.
And on the first, as you come in the main door to the right-hand side, there's still the women's room that will be there. Right.
So
before you even step up.
So the coat closet would be technically the men's room coming in the other way? Is that the way that would work? Or is that a unisex bathroom, you think?
No,
I think it's still the coat closet.
still a co-closet.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
We said a storage.
when you,
in storage. No,
so,
you,
so I'm sorry, I misunderstood then. So there's no bathroom plan underneath the stairwell anymore. Is that correct?
no,
No,
Okay.
no.
I'll be removing that. It'll be changed to storage.
Just storage closet.
Right.
So the closest men's room then would be either the family room or on the second floor.
Yes.
Correct.
And again, I think we mentioned this last month, 2 weeks ago, meeting through me. We expect this to be done or in construction end of this year. And what's the timing on that again?
Our goal is to begin at in December, late December, and then run through March during I'll call it the non-busy season, of Waveney. I'll call it the non-busy season, even though Waveney is always busy. But the best time that we could figure on was between December and March.
Okay.
To come and do that work. So we didn't affect the larger season, the wedding season and what have you. So the best time for us was then. So we put a pause on it so we could make sure that everything would fit and comply. And now we're just working towards developing shop drawings with the thought to come back in December and have at it.
Okay. And do we have an all-in cost of this? I'm talking all-in for the elevator project and design, everything, not just, do we have a price on this? And then also remind me how we ended up choosing the contractor we did. We bid that out, or
we bid it out. Yeah. And Alden Bailey's been very good in holding their prices from a pre-COVID bid,
okay,
if you will. To give you an all-in price, I'd have to go back and divide up what Mitchell's fees with the other consultants, so we can get you that information to give you an all-in cost, if you will.
Yeah, that would be great. And look, I know it's been protracted, right? Protracted, but we should know. We don't have a choice. We have to do it, but we should know what it costs and when it's going to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's the pricing we got it's getting to be stale pretty much. I mean, that's a while ago. So I'm amazed that they're able to even hold some of that pricing. So happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because is it a pre-made? It's all custom. The entire job is custom.
Yeah.
Wow. There's nothing like even the inside.
Well, the
cab,
the compartments.
Yeah.
The pieces to it.
Yeah.
But nothing's off the shelf anymore. Yeah. And what they do is you design it, they create shop drawings. The elevator company needs 32 weeks minimum from approved shop drawings to fabricate it. Wow. So they have the machine parts, but the actual cab, they don't. And they make it, custom each time. And the enclosure is custom.
So that's important to know. So we don't have, you guys said we don't have the drawings yet, right?
Well, we don't have the shop drawings.
Right. So we need shop drawings, and then it's 32 weeks just to make it.
Yeah.
Right, 32 months.
32 weeks.
32 weeks. 32 weeks, okay, to make it. And then.
So it's we're sort of working back on the schedule, and that's where certain things on the probes are required so that we can finalize certain details and how to get to it so that they have information so that we have all the pieces out and not guessing later and trying to sort of retrofit it.
Right. And to hit that window, Tiger, that you mentioned, calculating it back to,
schedule's getting tight.
Yeah, that's the question we always end up asking is if we don't get to this point, are we, kicking it for another year? So, yeah.
But are we beyond issues of that we heard about for 5 years, supply chain? I mean, people can get this stuff done now. So what do we need to do to make sure we have the shop drawings so they can proceed, so we can get this put in the off season?
Yeah. I mean, we're 8 months, 32 weeks. That's 8 months.
Right.
So, I mean, we're already we're past December.
Yeah.
We're past December.
So how do we get comfortable that this can happen? Like how can we help people move this forward and address this need and wrap it up? What can we do to move this?
Well, my understanding, and the contractor is here today, and he can give you some more information on what he would need. to finalize his probes and investigation so that he can then coordinate with structural engineer, and then we can wrap up sort of the final detail and structural elements to it so that he can then plan and get things into production and the shop drawings get started. So I think there's a schedule that needs to sort of work through and trying to get to that. And I don't have that per se. You know, from what we had previously spoken about in the meetings, we knew that we couldn't get in until Christmas in doing that. But to do some of the investigations need to happen prior.
Yeah, but if we don't get moving, we're not going to hit that season.
Correct.
So that's my question. Like, you know.
Well, so do some of the, I guess we have to be cognizant that we have a building that we actively use in the summer for weddings. And so we cannot be impacting people that are paying a fee to use our building and, you know, expected a certain experience. So I don't know what needs to be done, if everything that needs to be done can be done without disrupting or infringing on the experience of that staircase and, you know, the building, or if what needs to be done is going to impact that. And then we have to have a conversation about when that can start.
But right now we're talking about you need the probes done to know what you need to do, right? So is that a very invasive thing to do? I mean, I'm just trying to see, how do we see the schedule? Again, you know, we have this project. This is happening week 1, 2, 3, so we get it done.
The probes are up in the ceiling, you said, right? So
So
you're not,
no
you're not going to see that. You know, even if you poked a couple holes in the ceiling, it's not a big deal.
We just don't want to. We don't want to affect the fabric of the staircase itself, as you're, you know, because there is an expectation, as Deanna mentioned, that, you know, that as the bride's walking down the staircase, you know, can't be scaffolding, can't be a hole in the ceiling, things of that nature. So we are working towards a method to be able to satisfy the probe and get the information we need without necessarily affecting that envelope, if you will. Until we need to affect that envelope. We will need to affect that envelope because of the overrun of the structure itself, but not do it prior, if you will. You know, do it at the time that we need to do it, not prior. So we're working towards that end to see exactly how that would work.
Yeah, and during the schedule, because there will be a time when it will be completely blocked off because the contractor needs to create a hole in the floor, create a hole in the ceiling.
Yeah, we're talking December, right? For that.
Yeah, I mean,
we can't do it in December because the staircase, the elevator won't be finished by then, and you're not going to build it. You're not going to cut a hole until you have the finalized. I mean, in my opinion, you're not cutting any hole until you know the exact dimensions of what you're putting in.
Yeah, exactly. But that's important. But
yeah, I mean, I don't want a hole until I know exactly what's going in there.
Once the elevator's in construction, right? Then you know you have to get it ready to be put in the ground.
Oh, you want it on site. My thing is I would want that on site. I do, because that is an antique building and you do not want any problems with that elevator and the sizing and everything else before. You want it on site and you want it to fit where it's supposed to go. You can't go off of shop drawings for that. You have to have it built before you cut a hole.
Well, my understanding is that the custom cabs and Champion, the installer, want the enclosure to be built and completed. So that when they come in, they just assemble the cab.
So they'll assemble it on site.
Assemble it inside.
It comes in pieces and they build it.
So if they needed to modify something, they could modify it on site.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to have the right drawings, right? And that's true, but you have to have it ready to receive the elevator, right?
So there is a lot of coordination that continually happens during it, from the field verifications and everything else. So that's why the enclosure has to be, you know, ready for that elevator, and then the modification is necessary in the field.
So they need 32 weeks to build it, right?
They need 32 weeks to construct.
So how many? I'm just trying to get, like, what do they need to be able to go? You know, and like you said, it's 8 months, right? So how do we make sure that we have the work and they have the information so we can say go, so we can start putting it in December? And I'm hearing all this stuff like you can't worry about.
Well, we're already in January, so like 8 months is already January.
Great.
Okay, like we're not in December.
Right. Yeah, just my questions in terms of whoever's running the project. I'm worried we're going to miss that window, and maybe I shouldn't be. But it sounds like we don't have everything they need to do the shop drawings.
We're close. We just need to perform the probes and then give them the rest of the information.
So the probes is what you need, and we could do the probes without affecting people who are renting.
Can we? I'm asking.
That's the discussion. That's the discussion with the contractor present to make sure that we can't.
Don't know that yet.
Okay. So that's what we're working towards right now, is to ensure that we don't have that issue.
Okay.
So once we're assured the fact that we won't damage that envelope, then we can proceed. That's the concern at present.
So would it be possible, so we got a meeting in 2 weeks, to have an update on that?
Sure.
That would be great.
Other than, you know, we've been focusing on weddings and people that pay for the venue, but, you know, in terms of the normal, like civic events that happen there, dinners, that type of thing, would you still be able to cordon that space off and still have events like that? Or do you envision just shutting it down completely during that time?
It's a larger question for John, but I don't want to speak for him, but we were trying to make it so that we could quadrant off that area, and then you could still have the open areas of the ground floor, you know, where we put screens up, so you wouldn't necessarily see, you know, behind the curtain, if you will, and we wouldn't affect others. So I would say limited events.
Yeah,
if
you'd
you
still
will,
have two working bathrooms down there if you need them. You wouldn't necessarily have to go upstairs, but
it would function the same way it would now, you know, in that regard. But I would say limited events was the thought, you know, but not anything on this, you know, per se on the second floor, because that whole area would have to be, you know, available, if you will. I wouldn't want to have scaffolding or things of that nature there and then people walking around it. I don't think that would be right. But first floor
during
access,
construction, would the main stairway be off limits, and you'd have to go to the auxiliary ones?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe in addition to the shop, you know, drawing, or, you know, what we need to get those drawings in 2 weeks, I think it would be a helpful exercise to kind of get to the outer date. So right now we're in January, okay, and work back what has to happen and what the markers are, you know, by month. And then that way John can review it for, you know, what's happening at Waveney, and we can review it for, you know, just so we know. But right now we just keep throwing dates out there, and I think we need a timeline of what are the markers that we're going to meet by which time frame, so we can all have a more concrete discussion about what, you know, do we have to shift it a month? Do we have to shift it 3 months based on sort of what's going on?
Okay.
Yeah, and a summary of what we think the all-in, everything-in cost is going to be associated with this. Design, change design, you know, construction, contingencies, everything. Just so we know. I mean, we have to do it, but we ought to know.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Are the bathrooms open upstairs? The new bathrooms? Are they open? They signed up for use?
They work.
Right.
I know they work. I'm just saying.
They work. They're very close. Yeah. We have some rugs being delivered. We have a couple of things that we, you know, would like to tweak. Other than that, yeah.
So they're going to use them for post-prom?
Post-prom is next month?
No, not this weekend, the following weekend.
Okay.
So they can use them for post-prom?
They're not open yet.
Good.
Right. Rather.
So they'll be open when? I mean, by June? I mean.
We can look to have them open by June, yes.
Right. I would think people are using them for weddings. You would like, they're nice. I mean, you would like.
Yes,
to
I think I would like
they're
to
attractive. So
you know, another
let's get them
month or
open,
two.
right? They've been kind of sort of done for a while.
First entry should maybe not be post-prom.
Yeah, actually,
I know my own children. I don't really want those bathrooms first exposure to the public being post-prom.
Yeah, I wouldn't put the rugs down before that.
I'm sure they're chaperoned.
Into the bathroom, huh?
How about that?
I used to be on the board of ed. I don't think that's okay.
Any other questions for Mitchell or Lee?
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
very
if you
much.
can circle back with us in 2 weeks, that'd be terrific.
We'll be,
Thank
yes.
All right. Next item is the building assessments. Tiger.
All right. So,
Does Lee stand for this?
excuse me?
Does Lee stand for this? Let's say.
No, I don't think so.
Lee, thank you for joining us from California.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
It's early morning. The
Wow. That's brutal.
So this next item is, we've had recent concerns with surrounding water infiltration into both Waveney House and the Lapham Center. So we decided to take a step back and take a further look at the building itself. So we asked Hoffman Architects and Engineers to come in and give us a proposal to assess the exterior facade and the chimneys of both buildings and put forth some additional recommendations as to measures that we to correct these issues. We're getting water in areas where we haven't had water previously, substantial amounts of water in some cases. And we felt it was prudent at this time just to take another look before moving forward with any of the proposed projects that we have, just to take another look, have a second opinion, so to speak, and then go forward. Hoffman's done very nice work for us at the police department. They gave us some good recommendations there and a good assessment of the building. And we would like to have them come and take a look at this building for the exact reason. And we feel that we're confident with the work that we have proposed to do, but it doesn't hurt us to have someone else come in and take another look and see whether or not we are, whether we're on the right path, whether we're on the right path, we should add a little bit, we're on the right path, and don't have to add anything. So I think it's prudent to have someone come in and take another look, just a fresh look and see. And that's where we're at. The proposed price is $38,950. That's for both buildings. The detail or the split is $25,300 for Waveney House and $13,650 for the Lapham Center, for a total of $38,950. He'll come in with a lift. Subcontractor will provide a lift. He'll come in with a lift service, take a look at both buildings, and then give us a report. And hopefully he'll concur with what we've determined already. And if there's other measures that he sees, that would be fantastic. And if not, that's good as well. And then we can proceed with the work that we have planned.
So just so I understand that the work they're going to do, they're going to have a lift. They're going to inspect absolutely every part of the exterior of the building, the roofs, everything.
The roof, the roof they don't feel we have an issue with. It's more that they feel that the water infiltration is on the walls themselves.
Okay.
So they'll be looking at that. Lapham is the chimneys, so they'll be looking at that, and then the space between the two buildings, if you will, where the two buildings join. Right. But they're feeling, again, the same thing, that the areas of concern are around the chimneys themselves. But at Waveney, they don't consider that we're having a problem with the roof. They're considering that they're having problems with the walls, infiltration from the walls.
Because they haven't inspected it yet, right?
On its walkthrough coming around,
okay.
we did a walkthrough. John and myself did a walkthrough of the building with the representative from Hoffman. Okay. And we showed him all the areas, and Butch, I should say, and we showed him all the areas of concern. Mm-hmm. And his feeling was that it wasn't the roof per se, it was more of the walls themselves. We know we have issues with the walls already. We already have a project detailed out to take care of that work. We just want to make sure that we're on the right path. And if there's anything else that we're missing, they can help us.
Yeah, I guess my question is, so you do walk through your ground level, right? So they're going to have the lift. So I'm assuming they're going to, as they're looking, I mean, they're not focusing on the roof, but they're certainly going to be up there. So mm-hmm. They should look there as well. I mean, because, if you're looking 30 feet up versus up there, I just want to, if we're going to bring this in and spend the money to make sure we're trying to figure out the right way to get this thing waterproof. And it would, mm-hmm. I think 2017 was the roof. Is that right? When we did that, something like that?
Bill, was it 2017?
More or less. Okay.
More or less. It was on an air again off the deck top.
Yeah. So what is the, and I just really, we're going to pay these guys. I really want them to look at everything, like dig down, right?
There were some when we looked at it a while back, there was some gapping with connection points.
Mm-hmm. They looked at that as well, and they will look at that as well.
Okay, because that's roof stuff. That's
right.
on the roof.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's between where the,
connections
yeah,
to the
where the roof can, on that small patio where the roof connects to the wall structure, they're feeling that, there might be an issue with that as well, but they're feeling, I asked specifically on that.
And
they
just
felt it
where
was-
some of the flashing came together,
Correct.
there's gapping, that needs to be, there were some specific recommendations of roof related repairs that still need to be done. So I agree with you, Amy. I think they need to also look there as well.
Yeah, and we're paying them enough money to do this.
Yeah.
So, and if, if you can get up and look up high versus looking, from the ground up.
Well, if they're gonna have to get up and do the check of the flashing on the chimneys at Waveney, they've got to be up high enough to look at other items up there. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's some of the flat areas of concern on that roof too, where there, as you said, some of the flashing, some of the adhesive, there's potential cracking up there. Just want to make sure that that's just surface stuff and not something that's more than that.
Yeah, if we're going to pay it, let's make sure we just double check everything. So Target, what would be the timing of when these guys would do it, how long it would take, how long before we got a report so we can get a game plan for getting this building watertight?
So assuming approval, we'll go back to them. They're looking at starting quickly. They don't have many days in the field. They'll have to coordinate with their lift contractor, but they don't have many days in the field, and they felt a 2-week turnaround on the report post that. So about a week in the field and a couple of weeks on the report. And then we come back. At the time I had mentioned that, this is of utmost concern to the first selectman and myself. So the feeling is that we want this answer quicker, sooner rather than later, especially if we're considering the fact that if they come back with a positive review on the proposed project, we would like to move that forward as well. And that timing is of the essence also. So.
Right. And these guys are pros in terms of these type of buildings and what they face.
This is pretty much what they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've worked for us. I mean, they're on the memo, they've worked at SACS and the police department, South School, East School. So we've got experience with them.
And the PD is dry.
Yeah.
So.
The deliverables on the report will include photos and, okay.
That's
good.
Correct.
Good. All right.
That's great.
All right. Any other questions?
So in terms of the timing and the work, it's like turnarounds. Is it 5-6 weeks? Is it 8 weeks? This is just a priority. People have been there, and the storms aren't getting any lighter around here.
The hurricane season starts in June.
What a cheery thought.
Thank
When's
you.
your wedding?
Appreciate that. There it is right there. You just conjured the beast, right? So they're aware that it's a priority for the town. And I'll reiterate that at the time that, we would like them to expedite this work.
Okay. 6 to 8 weeks?
At best, or at worst, I should say.
Okay.
I was hoping for something quicker.
Yeah, me too. That'd be great.
And I think we can, once we've done that, I was meeting with Rose and Carl yesterday. I mean, I think we should look at the 2017 KSQ report about what was identified, what they've identified at,
APS.
Sorry.
Architecture Preservation
but
Studios.
I think at that point, we'll have 3 reports and we can kind of see sort of what it is that, has been identified as issues with this building. I mean, and, some of it may be just people didn't want to, we talked about the roof, but at that time there was a much bigger plan and it didn't all get done. And so, was that identified and did we rob Peter to pay Paul?
Yeah, I mean, back when we first started looking at it, I think, Tiger, refresh my memory, was it 26 million to do the whole?
16.
Oh, 16 million.
I think it was 16.
So it's probably 26.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But, we kicked the can on doing $16 million worth of work all at the same time and said, let's just, we'll do all the work, but we're going to have to, piece it out. So it was the roof, it was seal the envelope, and then start moving inside the elevator, et cetera. So
we originally kicked the roof too, by several years. Also.
So we need to kind of let people know the scope of the seriousness of this. And I don't think people realize, I mean, it's a complicated building. The ADA stuff's complicated. it's old. We bought it and did nothing with it forever. We have a way of doing that. We did the same in Irwin Barn, you know, so I think everybody across the town has to realize that if we're going to keep this building, which I think we are, it's not going to be cheap. And you're going to have to spend the money, or you're just going to spend more down the road, or it's going to deteriorate.
Yeah, I mean, this is New Canaan's house, right? I mean, there's no getting around the fact that when we come together as a town, as a community, this is where we go to celebrate, and we have to take care of our house. There's just no way around it. And you know, it's a big house, and it's an expensive house, but we've got to take care of it.
And we have opportunities at that place. There are rooms that are in spaces that are not being used that we should. So, but I think it's really important meeting for people to know what we've done with the ADA, why we have to do it, also the water and structural issues. And so we can't kick it down the road. So we have to, I think our goal can be through this period of time for the next budget is to keep hammering on this and the reality of what we need to do. It's nice to get shiny new toys, but we need to take care of what we own.
Okay. All right. So if there's no further questions, I am going to ask for approval of a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with, oh wait, beforehand, do you have money in the budget?
Yes. Sorry.
Just, you know.
Important question.
It's not a small amount of money. Yeah. Approval of a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Hoffman Architects and Engineers in the amount of $38,950 for facade and chimney assessments at Waveney House and Lapham Community Center. And can I add roofs to that? Yeah. I'm going to add roofs to that, Tiger. We're adding roofs to the approval. Because it's not on the approval, and we just, so in the motion, we are adding roofs to the language of the approval, because we all mentioned we wanted them to look at that, and that's not in the language. So, so adding roofs after facade, chimney, and roofs. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So, second.
Amy, and then Steve, and I. It's unanimous.
Thank you, Tiger.
Okay, thank you, Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger, thanks for giving that.
Okay, after that loveliness, I would like. Well, do you want to tell me? Do you want to tell me about it first before
Where's
I get
that?
an approval?
Oh,
it is
for this? I can tell you.
National Public Works.
Right.
We have a few Public Works members here today.
All right.
Yay.
Favorite part of the year. So this is we would like to have May 19th to the 25th of this year declared as National Public Works Week in the town. This year's theme is the advancing quality of life for all, which shines a spotlight on the way public works professionals advance our quality of life as first responders to an electricity outage, regular waste pickup, or a myriad of other ways we silently serve the community. So that's services and transportation, water, wastewater, stormwater treatment, public buildings and spaces, parks and grounds, emergency management, first response, solid waste, and right-of-way management. So that's where we are.
Okay. Any comments?
So what are we going to do to celebrate this? I mean, it's one thing to declare it; it's another thing to do something.
We're hoping to have a gathering at the pool at the end of the season for our crews. We try to pick one area of town that we don't necessarily get to see or get to utilize, and John's graciously offered the pool once the season's over.
So during the
week,
so during the week of celebration, we're not doing anything.
September, right? We'll come out, and at that time, we'll invite the boards to come and join us as well.
Okay. Well, Tiger, make sure you thank all the guys from top to bottom. I mean, it's just you guys do an amazing job in town, and we can't tell you enough how the residents appreciate you, we appreciate you, and all your crew. So thank you so much.
No, thank you.
All the work you guys do.
Despite the fact that we harass you during these meetings, that's our job. But all I can say is, you drive into New Canaan, you know exactly when you hit New Canaan. Yeah, stuff looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, you know, I mean, for those of us who have the luxury of sleeping in on, you know, snow days and, you know, power outages, staying in our homes, you know, those guys are out, you know, making sure that our roads are clear and safe. And so thank you for all that you guys do to keep this town running.
Thank you.
All right. So could I get a, what? Could I get a,
make us look good?
Yes, they do. Could I get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to declare May 19th to May 25th as National Public Works Week in New Canaan?
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wind Waste City Carding.
So Donnie's going to come up and join me. So this is an approval of an increase of a previously approved purchase order 240187 for wind waste city carding for $58,900. We've seen a 276 ton increase in our material hauling. That's our construction debris and our brush over last year. We had based the purchase order on last year's volumes, if you will. So this year we're right now at about 1692, which is over 276 tons over last year. Monies are available in the present budget, and we would request your approval. I don't know if you have any questions for Don, but you can see in the years out the number of tons that we've been producing or been receiving, I should say. We don't produce it.
We're actually down.
Yeah, those are the COVID years that really went.
2021, 22 was all COVID.
Oh, okay.
So and then we kind of
then it started leveling out after the fact.
Right, and it was hard to get a grasp as to where we were when it bottomed out. So we stayed at where we were. But yeah, to your point, our 5-year average is 2,147 tons.
Yeah, that should come down then, hopefully.
It'll start to go.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, if I could get an approval of a request from the Department of Public Works to increase a previously approved purchase order with Wind Waste City Carding in the amount of $58,900 for hauling service at the transfer station.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous.
Hey, Don, just a question about Shred Day. How did it go? Well, I was over there, and looked like you had a good crowd coming through.
We had 221 cars and 5.3 tons
Double.
shredded.
Wow,
right,
really?
best ever.
Wow, did it all fit in one truck?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just the guy who was getting nervous. The last hour he was getting nervous because if he fills it up, then he's got to run to the Danbury and come back again.
So we're trying to figure out why did we get such a much larger turnout? Was it like better publicized?
Right. Yeah, but it was our best year car wise and tonnage wise by far. Yeah. So to Deanna's point, we're trying to say, was it because of the newsletter? Was it because we put it out on Everbridge, other venues, or was it just
I think the publicity was very good across the board. Social media and Planet McCain picked it up. A bunch of different organizations picked it up and pushed it out to their members, and I think that's important.
Yeah, everyone knew.
But I also
so we'll get ready for October.
Yeah, and well, I think the newsletter helps too because that gets delivered to everybody, and
unless they don't sign up after this month, and then it won't get delivered again. So sign up.
There you go. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, next item is Northeast Generator.
Did you make a motion?
Oh, sorry.
Did they make a motion?
Did we, Tucker, did we?
Yeah, we did.
You did? I apologize. I just want to make sure because I was like, so this next is, we had a prior approval of monies for an emergency repair for our wastewater treatment facility generator. Unfortunately, the cost of repair a little bit larger than what we had originally anticipated. So we're asking for an additional amount of $5,000. The funds are available in the wastewater plant operating budget, but we need to ensure that this stays online.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it was a little bit dicey there for.
So have the repairs been done or they're getting done?
Bill, are the repairs done? Is he still here? No, he left. To my knowledge, the repairs are being done, not done.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. All right. So if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to increase a previously approved purchase order with Northeast Generator by $5,000 for emergency repairs to the generator at the wastewater treatment facility.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you. One back sewer and drain.
So this is to increase a prior approval. We had a prior approval of $17,500. This is for an additional $7,500. The monies are available in the highway operating budget for PO 240061. And this is, we come out and clean and video inspect our existing drain lines prior to repaving. And or if we receive a residential complaint, things of that nature, we'll go out there and we'll take a look. We've been utilizing OneVac and S&S to ensure that we have a company available and proper customer service. So highway department primarily focuses with OneVac, sewer department primarily focuses with S&S, and then we can trade off between the two. They're their expenses are very, very similar. And we're just seeing an uptick in the amount of work that we need to do. I kind of detailed out exactly where we are. Last year, we spent $34,800 on these services. This year, we're projecting $25,000. In the years prior, we were slightly lower than that number. Our 3-year average, our weighted 3-year average is 16,100.
Why was last year hard? Is it reflecting more paving done? Because I know you got
a little bit of both. Yeah, we did a substantial amount of work drainage wise in the early 2000s, 2007, 2008. Okay. And those pipes are getting older, and as we come back and recycle through the roads that we were doing, we got to go back out and take a look.
Mm-hmm. So this contract covers the roads you're working on, right? It's not all.
Not all roads. No. This is where we receive a residential complaint, where we notice an issue, or when we're coming out to repave, we go and we UTV. So we had one on
the huge truck that has the elephant trunk on it that goes down in there and
yeah, and then there's a smaller box truck that actually has the TV camera with it. That then once they jet it out, then they'll send the TV camera through it.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I see them around.
With a lot more rain and things,
mm-hmm.
We'll just need to keep those drains
clear.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so could I get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to increase a previously purchase order by $7,500 in order to clean and video inspect drain lines?
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Lapham Road.
All right, so this next one is there's a gas line trench on Lapham Road, just outside of the pool. And since Burns is working at the pool itself, I asked them for a price to come in and take care of that trench line. That gas line was installed from 106 all the way to service Lapham Community Center. So it was for the town's purposes. They cut the road, our responsibility to come back in and repave it. So I asked Burns for a price. They came back at a very reasonable price at $18,262.50. And that is what we would like approval for at present.
And it's because they're on site right now, and
correct.
Just get it done instead of having to restart.
Correct. Instead of
the whole road. Is it?
No, it's basically from if you're facing the pool, a little bit to the left of that, and then towards 106. So it's not all of Lapham. It's just the one lane, the northbound lane, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's the one lane that's been affected. So we'll be looking at cutting the road to the center line, milling that out and repaving it. But
so it's not going all the way up where you're doing the stonework and stuff?
No.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
No, it's reasonable. They're there. Might as well do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So could I get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Burns Construction in the amount of $18,262.50 for the Lapham Road repair?
So moved.
Second.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, asphalt recycling.
So this next item, we went out to bid for hot in place asphalt recycling for our local roads, Betsy's Lane, Cedar Lane, Lost District Drive from Ponus Ridge to St. George's, Luke's Woods itself, and Turtleback Road South. We received one bid, but there's very limited amounts of contractors that do this specific type of work. This is that large train that comes in and heats up the asphalt, scarifies it, puts it into a pug mill, rejuvenates it, and then repaves it on the backside. So we're actually reutilizing our own material and then rejuvenating it. So Highway Rehab has done very good work for us in 2013, 16, 17, and 2020, doing this exact same technique. They did Carter Street. They did a number of other roads in town that you can drive upon and are faring quite well. So we're asking for a contract approval for $280,750 for highway rehab. I added a 10% contingency of $28,075 for a total of $308,750. I don't know.
So Tiger, when that machine comes in and it chews up the road and puts it back down. So I know you have stages of where roads are. Is that road considered completely done and will then go into the cycle of 5 years out? What level of road do we get then? It's like we get a road that's
very comparable to a mill and pave.
Okay.
So this requires a thin overlay over the top of it after. That's a separate contract, if you will, with a separate contractor. But it's about 50% savings on the dollar between a traditional mill and pave and a hot in place. And our feeling is that we can then, when it gets close to the end of its useful life at that 20-year mark, if you will, we can come back in, mill and pave it, hot and place it, and then get another 10 years out of it, if you will, and, you know, prolong the life of that, reutilize the material and prolong the life of
So
that.
this gives us 10 years?
10 years. The traditional mill and pave is giving us 11 to 12 before we've got to do something with it. So this is very similar to that.
So why don't we do this more?
We're starting to transition to more of this work. The problem with this is that there's a dehydration of the canopy, if you will, canopy burn. So we have a very substantial amount of tree canopy in town. So this actually dehydrates the trees and turns them an early brown.
Oh, I mean, does it damage the
Doesn't
tree?
damage the tree. It dehydrates the tree. The tree will come back.
So people get nervous.
So, right. So it's
I don't like the way it looks. I mean, you're in the summer and you've got like brown trees.
You've got a brown line going through. So we're trying to pick and choose the areas where we don't have as much substantial tree canopy. And then it's limited also. Cul-de-sacs are sometimes difficult depending upon the curvature of the road, things of that nature. But we are looking to do more of this because of the savings that we're seeing and the benefit we're seeing on the useful life extension of the road.
Sounds like a little public education. So it's just brown for a little while, but you're going to save in your taxes.
Yeah, and your trees are not damaged. That's important.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I think
that's why I brought it up at the coffee at the
sounds
New
like you
Canaan
have a
night.
newsletter item.
Yes.
Right.
Newsletter item.
Right. Yeah. No,
So
because then, you know, you can take the savings and plant more trees or just keep your taxes down.
Yeah. Trees might be a little bit damaged.
Thanks, Mose. Appreciate that.
So we will put plywood up and things. I just talked to the contractor the conifer is very close to the road.
Come stand up. You have to
come on up here.
Now that you put your foot in your mouth.
Right.
Just let it go.
I mean, we know that residents are very attached to their trees, especially,
Yes.
you know, if it's on their property.
So some of the hemlocks and stuff, they're very close to the road. I was talking to the contractor, and he said what they've been doing. They also spray water on them before they come. But he said the ones that are very close to the road are really nice. We try to get some plywood up just to protect it from the heat a little bit.
Okay.
Right. So we'll hold plywood sheets up. So and then they put there's chutes on either side of the apparatus, right, of the equipment, and they'll put those chutes down. They'll put those covers down to try to make sure that the heat doesn't radiate out, and then we can pass by certain trees that are notable, if you will, to then try to reduce the amount of scalding, I guess, or the dehydration.
Okay. I mean, picture the amount of heat it takes to melt asphalt and put it into a form where you can roll it out. This is some serious heat in those trucks. It's crazy.
I'm on Chichester, which is like so narrow with the driveway. It would be a tough one to do because of that.
Chichester, we wanted to make it one way. We got voted down.
I voted for you, man.
All right. Any other questions?
So these guys, we haven't used them since 2020. Is there a reason on that?
We just haven't had suitable candidates at present, to be honest. That's really it's specialty, and then we have to choose the road specific to that, if you will.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So could I get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Highway Rehab Corp. in the amount of $280,750 plus a contingency of $28,000 for a total cost of $308,750. The project entails hot in place asphalt recycling on local roads.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excavator.
So this next is a purchase contract to purchase from Chadwick Barros in the amount of $146,272 for a Takeuchi excavator. We are receiving a municipal discount for the work, and the funds are currently available for this purchase. This is a replacement of one of our roadside mowers. So this excavator has a mower head associated with it, and then several buckets. So for excavating, it's got a grading bucket, excavation bucket, things of that nature. So it actually has dual purpose. Instead of just being a roadside mower, we can, mow the roadside, change the head, and be shoveling with it, the next day or that afternoon, if you will.
Okay.
Is this company like Kubota, kind of the same idea? As
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're like Swiss Army knives. You can do anything with them.
Right. Yeah. This will be a nice addition. We've been looking for an excavator for quite some time for the highway department, and this is a nice add whereby we actually not just get an excavator, we'll get a roadside mower associated with it. So yeah, to your point, we change ahead, we can do whatever we want with it at that point in time.
Good. All right.
All right. Nothing further. If I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Chadwick Burroughs in the amount of $146,272 for the purchase of a Takeuchi excavator.
Second.
Unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, microthin overlay.
So this next is we went out to bid for our pave 24 microthin overlay and crack seal project. We received one bid, Indus seal, primary used to be called seal coating, for $1,088,434. I listed out all the roads that will receive a microthin overlay or a cape seal or crack seal itself. It also went on to the first Selectmen's newsletter, so rather not read them here for brevity. We added a 10% contingency for $108,000 for a total of $1,196,434.80. The funds are currently available in our pavement management improvement program, and Indus Seal Coating has been doing this work for the town since 2014. We've had very good results with it. This is probably one of the reasons why our road network is in such great shape, is because we're able to put in a microthin overlay. We're able to crack seal at 5 years and then put a microthin overlay or a cape seal in at 10 and buy ourselves an additional 10 years worth of work at a reduced cost, if you will, an overall reduced cost.
Can you just remind me the definition of this stuff? So the microthin overlay versus the cape seal, but the crack seal. Is the crack seal the little like ribbons you put on where the cracks are? I'm sorry, I should remember what they all are, but probably people.
So the crack seal is exactly that. Any crack that's in the road,
little ribbons
of a certain size. If you have a micro crack, not necessarily, but any crack that will open will be sealed. Okay, so we have roads that will be treated this year with a thin overlay or a cape seal that gets crack sealed beneath it. We have other roads that they're at the 5-year mark and we're starting to develop cracking, so we're crack sealing those. Say they were mill and paved 5 years ago. At the 5-year mark, we crack seal to stop water from infiltrating into the base. Once it infiltrates into the base gets saturated, your pavement will blow up at that point in time due to traffic. So the crack seal could be on a road that was done 5 years ago or a road that was done 10 years ago, if you will. And then we put either a microthin overlay or a cape seal. Microthin overlay is exactly that. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick, if you will, 3/8 to 5/8. It's a double micro, so it gets to be about 5/8 of an inch thick, 2 passes.
And it goes the whole road.
The whole road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Versus the cape seal is just a little crack.
The crack seal is just the microthin overlay is curb to curb, if you will.
So it looks really nice.
Exactly. And a cape seal is a microthin overlay, but beneath it, sandwiched between the crack seal and the microthin overlay, is a chip seal. And that chip seal gives us a little bit more structural body to the road itself. So if we're seeing that the road is starting to fracture in certain areas and we want to put a little structural body back into the road, we'll do a cape seal instead. So that's a chip seal followed directly by a microthin overlay. We don't chip in town and leave a chip seal. We chip and then put a thin overlay over the top of it. So what everyone's driving on is nice and smooth, and it's consistent from neighbor to neighbor, resident, from road to road, if you will.
Okay. Thank you for the definitions.
Yeah, I think it's important that we just read in those roads of microthin overlay. We're going to have Apple Tree Lane, Bald Hill Road, Fox Run Road, Journey's End Road, Partridge Road, Pequot Lane, Ramhorn Road, Rilling Ridge, Turtleback Lane East, Turtleback Lane West, and Turtleback Road. And then for Cape Seal, Benedict Hill Road, Evergreen Road, Laurel Road, Turner Hill to Thrush Lane, and then Old Norwalk Road from Main Street to Cecil Place.
And then Ponus Ridge.
And then on the backside, you got Ponus Ridge from Greenlee.
This is all in the newsletter.
Yeah, Ponus Ridge from Greenlee to Clearview, and Valley from Ferris to Hickok.
Okay. All right. Can I get any other questions?
No.
If I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Indus Seal Coating in the amount of $1,434 plus a contingency of $108,000 for a total cost of $1,196,434.80.
So
Where the 80 cents come from?
There you go. Just go with it. A second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that a typo? That's a typo.
Geez, there's
I apologize.
no 80s anywhere.
Right, there's no 80s. I apologize. I don't know how the 80 came in.
Give me 80 cents.
The project entails the micro-thin overlay cape seal and crack sealing various roads.
So
Second.
It's unanimous.
next time.
Hope you enjoyed that 80 cents.
This,
What's
thank
Public
you.
Works Week?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we
80
go.
cents. Cup of coffee. So this next is, we spoke about the Cape Seal portion. So there's two separate contractors that do a Cape Seal. One is Indus putting the micro-thin overlay on it. The chip seal is performed by Seymour Sealing. So we went out for this, we went out to bid for this portion of it, this chip seal portion of our road network that would then be put a micro-thin overlay over the top of it. Seymour Sealing came back at a price of $135,630. They added a 20% contingency of $20,000 for a total of $155,630. No 80 cents in here. This is for Benedict Hill Road, Evergreen Road, Laurel Road from Turner to Thrush, Old Norwalk, and Ponus. Seymour has been doing very nice work for us, excellent work for us since 2014. This, again, this technique, along with the micro-thin overlay, is one of the reasons why our road network is in the high 80s, low 90s, which is much better than our surrounding neighbors.
Just so you know, you may get phone calls between the two.
Right. Between the chip and the cape.
Once we put the chip down, we got to let it sit for 2 or 3 days with loose stone, and then it gets swept up. And then they come and put a micro over it. But between them, they want to know if the road is finished or not.
Right. Okay. So another thing on that, that's the reason why we put it out in the newsletter and try to then, we let the residents understand that we don't chip in town. We chip to cape, meaning chip to overlay. We don't just leave a chip. Other towns do. We don't do that. But there is a point there where the road, we need the car to help us work the material into place, if you will, right? So the chip sits on top of the oil, the pass oil, and the car will actually help us work that material in. So we want them to drive on it. It's just a question of, there's some, sometimes they kick up a couple of stones and they hear pinging underneath the undercarriage, and they're not pleased with that.
That's all. It's dusty, and it's a little.
That too, yeah. But we try to sweep it off originally, then we let them work it, and then we sweep it again. So at that point in time, and we try to have it where within 3 to 7 days we're putting a top on it. We need about 3 days to have it worked into place, and then we want to be done with it within 7 days. So we try to schedule the second contractor to come in directly following the first. Sometimes they're here together. They're just working on different roads at the time that they're here, and then the other one can piggyback on the first.
Is there any benefit or would make sense to just have a sign that says, work in progress, just avoid calls, and just so people realize, no, we're not having gravel driveway. I don't know if that would be helpful in terms of communications with people, because most people would have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time we send out a letter, but the letters were, sometimes difficult because people don't necessarily read the letter that's being sent.
See, this is why we need that geolocating
correct
from our newsletter for his DPW signups. Because if we have that, once we have that, it'll allow us to send text messages or emails to residents who sign up and are within a location of work being done. So that's a goal, but
you just know you got to hit people from a lot of ways. And I'm just thinking in terms of trying to minimize your headache. If there's just like an old-fashioned sign, two-step process will be finished within a week. I just was a thought. I mean,
we put out signs that there's loose material and that's a chip seal in the primary portion of the project, in the first part of it. But we can look at, we don't have enough message boards to take care of every road at every time, but we can try to see if there's another means of communication until we get the geolocating. The geolocating is really where it's at, because I could just target Benedict Hill Road and everyone on Benedict Hill Road would know this is what we're doing and why we're doing it, when we're doing it.
if you
That
will.
would be great. No, I believe me. And again, you know, you can try so many times. If people aren't going to pay attention, you can't do much about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? No. If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Seymour Sealing Services in the amount of $135,630 plus a contingency of $20,000 for a total project cost of $155,630. Project entails the Cape sealing of various roads.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
So this next one is the overlay of Locust Avenue and the eastern portion of the lumberyard parking lot. Excuse me. So we went to the two contractors that were the low bidders on well, FGV was the low bidder on our local roads paving contract, and Seymour Seal Coating was the low bidder on our chip seal. So we're looking to put in a chip seal with pass oil over the lots themselves to seal up everything that's there existing, seal up the existing pavement, and then place a 2-inch overlay over the top of it. And our feeling is that in speaking to the contractors, will give us at least 5 years, if not more. And it's probably the most cost-effective measure that we can do. I kind of detailed out all the bids that we received for the year, and then the different techniques and the different methods as to what we felt would be best. You know, this is the most cost-effective measure that we can come forward with to give ourselves a nice smooth surface for people, so there's no liability, no tripping. I know, you know, First Selectman's concerned about that. Gives us at least 5 years for Affordable Housing Committee to make some determinations as to what they might want to do with the lots. And then we can move forward at that point in time. But so the overall cost for the Locust Avenue lot was $131,350, and for the lumberyard lot was $158,775. All combined came to $290,125. I added a 15% contingency of $43,500 for a total of $333,625. And again, FGB was the low bidder on our Pave 24 local roads contract, and Seymour Seal Coating was the low bidder on our Cape Seal contract. And then I kind of, in your backup, I gave you what, you know, different versions of what, you know, everything would cost if we did different techniques. And we feel that this is our most cost-effective measure that we could come forward with.
And if you haven't walked over to the Locust Street lot in a while,
It's sad.
It's bad.
Super Cape, right?
What part of the lumberyard?
The eastern portion. So we paved
the front part.
The front part. As you drive in off of Elm Street, that first front part. The lower portion we paved a number of years ago. I'll say 8, maybe 10 years ago, and that needs a little TLC, but it's in good shape. Okay. But this upper portion needs to be redone. Okay. So as you drive in off of Elm Street, that first part, and you can actually see the seam between the two.
And the first part has dirt coming up in it. We have to go in and patch before these people even show up.
It's to the point where we've actually lost some of the pavement layer. So we're onto the base itself. So the highway department will come in and patch up some of those areas to then allow us to put the chip seal on top of it, and then put a thin overlay over the top of that, a 2-inch overlay over the top of that.
So the farmer's market
is in the lower section.
Yeah, they're in the lower section, so that wouldn't affect the top necessarily.
They shouldn't be affected. We're trying to see where we can work around their schedule, if you will. So the thought is that the chip sealer needs 2 days. We're thinking of a Friday, Saturday, coming into the lumberyard lot on a Friday, going to the Locust lot on a Saturday. He would have the chip seal down at that point in time. It'd be drivable. Everyone can drive on at that point in time and use it, and then have the overlay contractor come in and put his overlay in. We're looking at doing it. The overlay contractor FGB has an opening in their schedule at the end of May, early June. And we're thinking that probably gives us enough time to socialize with all the users of both lots, if you will, to then let them know that this is going to be happening. And we'll have to close we'll have to close the Locust lot on a Saturday to go do the work initially for a brief time, but it'll be closed. And then when we pave it, obviously those lots will be closed also. We can find a different way into the lumberyard lot. When we pave the upper portion, the lower portion can be utilized at that point. So we just want to, get that and socialize that with the parking department and the businesses that are using it and the commuters, so they're aware of it. So that's our
lumberyard lot's easy to get the cars out of there. Some of the cars in Locust Avenue look like they've been there since 1989.
Yeah, I did see an old, nice police vehicle in there
There's
that
a couple in the back there that are
straight
utilized for
70s
training.
vintage.
Yeah, so we'll have to move those as well. Might have to flatbed it out, but we'll get those out as well.
I mean, I just, because I was walking there yesterday, and in the back, with the new construction that's going on the back side of there, I didn't realize that's not connected.
We allowed him access to construction access in and out for his vehicles at that time. Instead of trying to gum up Heritage Hill and then try to come in through Houston, we allowed him to utilize that as construction access, but that'll be gone post-construction.
Okay, so we won't, once we're redoing that road, we're not allowing.
No, he'll have to, part of the agreement was that he's got to come back in and restore that area.
Okay.
And then we'll look to replant things of that nature.
But he's not going to be done by May or June.
Well, maybe we should talk to him.
Right. Not a bad idea. Say you can't use it anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to spend a lot of money redoing that and then, have a bunch of construction vehicles messing up the lot that we just spent a lot of money on. So
we can certainly, at the time, it didn't matter because it was so bad.
It's a mess. I don't have any issue, but at this,
we can tell him now he's much further along than where he was. He's up out of the ground. A lot of that was earthwork and, things of that nature. But we can tell him, hey, we need to close this off now because we're going to pave the lot. And we'd rather have you not mess it up.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay.
Very fair.
The one thing I just asked Tiger, looking at this agenda, is I get it. What we're doing here is kind of a holding pattern till we figure out what we're going to do. But I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't a holding pattern and we were repaving it, I would be saying, where are the trees in this lot? Because it's just so important for the heat dome and just how the town looks. I mean, I look at the parking lot, Center Street that's near the library. It's so pretty. I mean, we do need parking, but it doesn't have to be god awful ugly. But if it was like a permanent thing, I would be jumping up and down. But I understand we're just doing stopgap on this till we figure out what we're doing.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. If I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into the following contracts for chip seal, cape seal overlay as follows. Locust Avenue lot, FGB Construction, $99,500. Portion of Lumberyard lot, FGB Construction, $120,100. Locust Avenue lot, Seymour Seal Coating, $31,850. Portion of the Lumberyard lot, Seymour Seal Coating, $38,675 for a subtotal of $290,125 with a contingency of $43,500 for a total project of $333,625.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this next one is just an approval of a contract with Connecticut Materials Testing Incorporated for up to $10,000 for various testing that they're doing for our concrete work, for sidewalk installation, paving, things of that nature. So when we pour a concrete sidewalk, we have them come out and do slump test, air test, and then they do cylinders and break the cylinders at 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days to make sure that we get enough strength out of what we're, that it meets spec, if you will. The only way to do that is to actually make a cylinder and then break it and see if it comes up to strength. And then for our paving, we have them come out and do various tests as well as far as density. So the biggest thing for pavement is compaction, but not over compaction, right? So you want to be at around 95% of your compaction. The only way to do that is to test it with a nuclear density testing gauge, which they have. So they come out and do that for us. The amount of work that we have, we likely we're going to trip over the 1,500, get into possibly the 10,000. So I felt it was, one, I wanted you to know what we were doing, and two, felt it was, necessary to come here and have you approve this. They've done excellent work for us in the past. Every time I call, they have a technician available. Absolutely no problem with changes of schedule, no additional costs, things of that nature. And they've been giving us a great product for several years.
So does this help with, I mean, there's some issues with the sidewalks around the library. I mean, is that materials testing going to help with?
No, that unfortunately is more workmanship, if you will. It would let us know if there was enough air entrainment in it, right? So air, you have to have a certain amount of air inside the concrete. That helps with your freeze thaw. That helps with your salt going in, your brines coming into it. That one, those seem like it was a little bit more workmanship, if you will, whereby they not to be too technical, but they bring the cream to the top, bring too much water to the top, if you will. Having the tester on site, and since we do a slump test, which is where you actually test the amount of water that's in it, the moisture content, and you make sure that you're within spec. If you have too much water, you can run possibly into that problem, whereby now you have too much water and it rises to the top. You think that it's part of the concrete and it kind of seals itself and then it fractures off, if you will. Having testing like this and having the gentleman on site, keeps the contractor, from necessarily, you add more water, it's easier to work it, right? If you will, it's easier to move it around, right? So if it's stiffer, it's harder to move it around. Human nature is a little, I'll juice it, so to speak, and I'll get it to work. But having him sit here saying that, now your slump test will fail. If your slump test fails, the material goes back, if you will. So, and if the contractor adds the water post-production, he pays for it, not the supplier. So keeps them honest, but it's a very good thing to have them on site.
So is the testing done while the work is going on or afterwards?
No, they're right there.
So that makes sure we get the right product.
Yeah.
We're making sure this is like a.
Yeah. And then, on the asphalt side, the roller operator is working in concert with the gentleman doing the compaction test. So he knows exactly when he can get on the material, because there's a certain temperature you can get on it. There's a certain temperature when you have to get off of it, and there's how much you can work it. So he knows, as the guy's taking his density test, he knows whether or not he's hitting spec. So whether or not he needs to work it or stay off of it. So they both work hand in hand at that point in time. The guy will ask, what's my test? You say, I'm at 94%. Okay, good.
So this is basically our eyes and ears on the ground to make sure we're getting the product we're paying.
Right. We're out there each day, but with having these gentlemen walking the site, much is in our best interest.
So this contract covers us for this season, basically.
It should cover us for the season. Yeah. If I need more, I'll come back, if you will. In the past, we've been below the $10,000 mark, but that doesn't, we have a substantial amount of work to do this year. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the education, compaction, nuclear testing, and pavement density.
There you go. You get an A.
All right, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Connecticut Materials Testing in the amount of $10,000 for material testing services.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Tiger.
Can I jump to 24? I'm sorry, Cheryl. I had a 10 o'clock meeting with swap shop volunteers that I'm late to, so my own problem.
Okay.
But
all right.
So we went out to bid for our April bid structure. We had received 3 bids. If you look at them, they're incredibly tight. $32,095 versus $32,832 between Mill River and Olmsted. It's for 17 separate locations in town. Nothing truly of note for anyone to be concerned. We're doing a little bit of work at the schoolhouse apartments and then various roads.
Which one are we on?
Oh, you're here. I turned around and didn't see it. Come on.
We're at tree warden. Okay, go
I'm
to your
sorry.
meeting.
Yeah, go.
I'm sorry. All right. Bob, I'm sorry, Bob. I didn't notice you there. I turned around and my neck, that doesn't go that far. You did.
Behind you.
Well, Bob, have at it. So you're much, Bob. So. There you go.
Mo's did a nice job on for the paving for the trees too. It's the evergreens that are the biggest issue.
Okay.
Sounds like they're going to be protected pretty well.
Good. The woolly algae doesn't take them first.
Actually, it's not been too bad lately. I mean, it's still around, but there's some natural predators out there now. Anyways, I submit the bid for the tree work for Mill River. Came in low. I don't have the exact number in front of me.
32,000.
Correct. Yeah, they just beat out Olmsted Tree Care. All the prices, in my opinion, are very fair. The money's in the budget for this work. Primarily all tree removals of either dead or dangerous trees, and some pruning and removals over at the schoolhouse apartments, primarily, well, actually all of it in the playground area for the daycare. There's 2 trees in there that have some significant decay. And then while a tree crew is in there, they can do the pruning too of any dead wood that could be dangerous.
Are those trees, can you see those trees from South Avenue, or they're set back in where that playground is?
You can see the top of the crowns from South Avenue, but they're back, you know, in that area that's all fenced in.
Yeah.
And there's some trees that are surrounding that area that overhang. So anything that is a danger to that actual play area for little kids, obviously we want to keep them as safe as possible.
We took the trees in front of the police station out, so it's starting, you know, if you take more out over there, it's starting to, you know.
I'm sorry, what?
The trees right in front of the police station. We
Mhm.
took those out.
Yeah, they were.
Those were removed.
Yeah, they were scruffy.
We'll put
Yeah.
nicer ones in.
Yeah. Good.
With the state of lettuce.
There's 16 different roads mentioned here too that are affected, although a lot of them are smaller jobs, but if anybody needs the information, it'll be up on the site.
Oh. All right. Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the tree warden to enter into a contract with Mill River Tree Service in the amount of $32,095. The project entails removal, pruning, and stump removal of various trees in town.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi. All right. And we owe Steve we're not giving
Yeah, either one.
Okay.
All right, good morning. So I think Deanna was in office probably 4 days when we got a call from Vanguard that they were getting out of the public pension business. So we knew we had to hit the ground running. So we decided to put a committee together. It was Tom Schulte, who is the chair of RIPAC, Deanna Carlson, Steve Case, who is sitting to my left. He is a resident who lives in this world and was very helpful. And we'll talk a little bit about the why we chose the company we did. Also, Ann Kelly Lenz, Diane Wilson, myself, and Sean O'Keefe. We put an RFP out. We received 12 proposals back. After reviewing them, we decided to interview 4 different companies. We interviewed Russell, USI, State Street, and Northern Trust. And after, I think, 8 to 10 hours of meetings, we picked Russell. And I will turn it over to Steve to talk a little bit about the why.
Hi, I'm Steve. I've known Deanna for a long time, and I lived in this world during my working career. Do you understand what this is?
I was on the Board of Finance, RPAC.
Okay, great. So why Russell? We did interview a number of firms after having received a number of RFPs. You could separate them into kind of firms that currently do work with the town, USI, and very large firms that offer these services. We looked at a variety of different each of the firms in a variety of different ways. Just go through a few of them. Whoever was proposed as the team and the individuals and the kind of chemistry with the town, the investment strategies that they might be following, the philosophy that they put forth and their approach to due diligence, the way they would report to the town, all of the things to do with administrative support, including custodial work, including plan administration and working with the participants. And fees we looked at also. Each person could look at each of those criteria in a way that might be different, but we got together and voted on it, and it was kind of Russell by a hair. They were all very strong firms, all could do the job, all had differing strengths and weaknesses, and Russell came out on top of the review process. And not to say that the other firms wouldn't have done a very, very good job, but they are a kind of a global firm that has quite a lot of economies of scale that they can offer the town. They offered a very competitive fee. The key relationship person lives in Fairfield and would be very kind of local in the way that they can approach this, even though they're bringing together resources from all over the globe. And happy to answer any questions.
How did their fees compare? Because I was on that subcommittee for a long time, and we would go like, wow, this is a bargain. I mean, Vanguard, Vanguard's really, really tight on the fees. Maybe that's why they got out of the business.
I think partly.
Well, technically, they sold that business because it wasn't a strong business for them to another firm who asked you to leave as a client. So maybe you can say that. How does Russell's fee compare? It's actually very difficult to compare apples to apples.
Okay.
But the analysis that was done shows that they may be 1 basis point higher in terms of fees, which was which in the scheme of things was very minor.
Yeah.
And interestingly to me, the other competitors were right in that same range also. So there wasn't a huge difference.
Okay. It was kind of interesting because State Street will be our custodian with Russell, and State Street's custodial services, when they were providing the OCIO, their bid, were higher than Russell's custodial services with State Street.
Fun.
It was just a very unusual. I know. Wow.
So Vanguard with the municipal side is what they got out of, right?
Public sector,
Public
yes.
side. So they're just concentrating on the private
right.
sector.
So when we went out to bid, we were amongst many Connecticut towns doing the same. So
yeah, because they had a lot of clients.
Yes. Yeah.
Technically, Vanguard sold the business to Mercer. Who historically has been they got out of the business of working with state and municipal pensions many years ago for a long story of reasons.
And Steve has intimate knowledge of that as he was
Yeah, I was a partner at Mercer. So.
And we will move the funds over. We're going to try to mimic exactly what we have. And then our OCIO will work with the RIPAC and the Board of Finance to make whatever changes they recommend. So.
And our participants, what kind of changes or interface should they expect?
We're hoping it will be seamless. Right now, we work very closely with USI, so they already have everything in their system. So our retirees should see a name change on their check, and hopefully that's it. So.
Okay. All right.
We should thank Steve in terms of.
Yes.
No, it's just, Deanna will sing it from the. She brought Steve in as a consultant, and Steve has been instrumental in helping us through this whole process because it was a very large process.
Yes.
A lot of very, really good companies, and to try and delve down into those pieces to say what's the best for New Canaan. Not that anyone else is bad, it's what was the best for us, and Steve was instrumental with that.
Help target the conversation.
Yeah.
So he was an unbelievable civic volunteer. So
thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Steve, we owe you a higher spot on our next agenda.
Exactly.
Next time.
Thank you.
Pay closer attention.
My pleasure.
All right. So if I could get a motion to approve a recommendation to use Russell Investments to replace Vanguard's 3 service areas: investment advisory, custodian, and fund administration for the pension plan, OPEB trust, and Milred F. Marcelli Scholarship Fund.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
You got a little too much into the weeds today on what
happens
at
at
the
I'm learning a lot. I've been a citizen for 40 years. So.
Okay, and then we move on to another
exciting
contact
stuff.
We had to go out to the external audit.
Audit stuff.
A lot of changes.
The town went out to bid for external audit, our annual audit, and we received 2 proposals, which we're very happy to actually have 2. Most other towns are only getting 1. They're incumbent. So we interviewed both CLA and PKF being our incumbent, on April 16th. And it's by the ad hoc committee, which is the audit committee members plus the first selectman and the chairman of the town council. So that was the team that did all the interviews. Myself and the controller were included, but we're not voting members. The decision was to go with PKF on the external side. And what we have in front of you right now is the engagement letter for you to view. As Steve will probably remember, when I give him the call going, can you sign the engagement letter after it goes through the town council? Yep. So next, this engagement letter will go through the town council so we can get them engaged on the audit to get that timeline, because the timeline's sensitive getting that started, because typically by June, we have our prelim starting. So we're getting it through the boards. So there's really nothing for this board to do. It will have town council. It's one of the rare ones that town council signs for charter.
Okay. I think it's gotten longer. It's 15 pages.
Yeah.
A lot.
They're really starting to tighten up a lot of things. They're changing a lot of things. They're delving into it. So it is,
will our interface
different.
change at all with they changing? You know, once in a while we've changed partners. Are we from
Catherine? If you remember, became our lead person last year. She's still our lead person. Joe will be in there too, assisting, and their associate, I guess, Justin, who we had last year, who was phenomenal to the point of saying frustrating because of so many requests, but that's what the audit does. So. He was very good, his understanding. So there was no retraining, which sometimes is a concern of getting new staff. And both companies were very good in terms of saying that when they get new staff, they train them first before they'll put them on an account.
Good.
Good. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.
All right, full-time employees.
Okay, I am here to present Sharon Winter. We had an opening in the tax collector's office. We posted it internally to our unions. We had 2 individuals put in for it, and we interviewed Sharon. She is currently with the town clerk's office. She started with us part-time 7/20 and then went full-time in August of 23. She has experience in banking. She's worked with mortgages, great customer service, and incredible computer skills. So I would recommend her to move into this position.
Question?
I love the internal.
Yes, and then we will have to post for town clerk, so we'll do that next.
It's great for people to have opportunities and be able to expand. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like private sector. It's really nice to see opportunities open up and moving up, moving around. Right. It's good, very good. Sharon, I'm sure we've met Sharon a couple times. She's great.
Yeah, she's very excited.
Good. All right. So when does she start?
2 weeks from today.
Good. All right. If I could get a motion to approve a request from the Human Resources Director to hire Sharon Winter as a full-time tax clerk in the tax collector's office.
Second.
Okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then if I could get a motion to remove John Mahoney as a seated member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. He's missed 3 consecutive meetings since he moved out of town, and nobody can get a hold of him to get a resignation letter. If we could move to remove him from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
It's unanimous.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Then we can move an alternate up. And
what party was he?
Republican. Okay. And let's see.
I would just make a comment. It drives me crazy when people are on boards and miss multiple meetings. And he moved, it's different.
Yeah.
But I think and I know we've been doing this chat with people.
Right.
If you're going to sign up, show up. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Right. And I also think we really should emphasize these committees don't meet all that often. You may be committing to 12 meetings a year. And I think it really, really makes a difference for people to be there in person. You will have times when you can't. You're traveling for business and stuff. But I think we really should try to continue to emphasize the communications work better in person. So as we go forward.
Totally agree. It's so different being in the room with people and being able to, have a conversation, sense body language, even if there's an audience. I mean, there's a whole different feel to a live meeting being there versus zooming in. So
yeah, just more engaged.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, contracts. Yes. It was unanimous. Yeah. It was Steve, then Amy. Okay, contracts under $10,000. Any comments or questions? If not, moving on to overpayments, approval of refunds or tax overpayments. You want to take a look? Could I get a motion to approve a refund or tax overpayments?
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. And then legal fees. If you just want to review those.
How are we tracking for the year?
Yeah, getting up for the end of the year.
Yeah, we have 44,000 left.
Gosh, we're in May.
We've got 1 month left.
Yeah, good.
So,
All right, well, that's good.
okay. And then Selectmen's comment. So I think the only comments I have are to express the Selectmen's condolences to Amy on the loss of her mom.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And you know,
she had a great 17 years in New Canaan. Yeah. I think it really, a very full life, and what a great time. Yeah. And shout out to Waveney Care and the New Canaan Inn. They are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, some people can only dream of a legacy like that. It's unbelievable. The size of your family is unbelievable. I thought I had a big family until I read that obit. Holy smokes. Is it really 77?
Yeah, I can't remember if that includes my mom or not.
That's a small army.
But as my mom is kind of in the hospital, we actually had a baby born. So it's like, the circle keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so.
I loved her nickname too.
Midge.
Was MMTH or something?
Oh, yeah, the second generation made it Mother Midge the Great.
Yes.
Oh, MMTG. I love that.
Great lady.
All right. Anything else? If not, if I could get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.